The being that had once been Jake Morrison existed everywhere and nowhere at the same time. His consciousness flowed between the minds of humans and aliens across the galaxy, teaching them how to maintain their individual selves while working toward common goals. The transformation was complete, but the work was just beginning on the human flagship. Alex Porter stood where Jake had been moments before. There was no body left, no physical presence to mark where his friend had stood. But Alex could feel Jake's influence like a warm current running through his thoughts. "He is still here," Alex said to Dr. Carter. "Different, but still here." Dr. Carter checked her instruments, trying to measure something that could not be measured. "His consciousness has expanded beyond anything we can detect. But you are right, I can feel him too." Across the galaxy, the change was spreading faster than light. Human colonies that had been cut off by the war suddenly found themselves able to communicate with each other through a network of shared consciousness. But unlike the hegemony collective, each person remained individual and free. The alien species that had been forced together for so long began to remember their original cultures and identities. But instead of breaking apart into chaos, they discovered they could cooperate more effectively as individuals than they ever had as a collective mind. On a hegemony ship, an alien commander named Zekprime touched his head where the collective control device had been. For the first time in 50 years, his thoughts were his own. But he could still communicate with other ships when needed, sharing information and coordinating actions while maintaining his personal identity. "This is impossible," Zekprime said in his own language. "How can we be both one and many at the same time?" The answer came not in words but in understanding that flowed directly into his mind. The human concept of unity through diversity, cooperation without absorption. It was revolutionary for species that had known only domination or submission. Back on Mars Colony 7, Commander Walsh received reports that seemed too good to be true. Hegemony fleets across the galaxy were standing down. More than that, they were offering to share their technology and knowledge with humans. The war that had threatened to destroy humanity was becoming the foundation for an alliance between species. "How is this possible?" Commander Walsh asked Dr. Carter. "Jake did not just stop the war," Dr. Carter explained. "He created a new way for different species to exist together. Each civilization keeps its own identity and culture, but they can all work together when needed." But the most amazing changes were happening to humans themselves. People who had never shown any special abilities began to develop enhanced perception and intuition. Not artificial enhancements like the super soldiers had received, but natural awakenings of potential that had always existed in human DNA. Captain Maya Jensen, the intelligence officer who had investigated Project Genesis, found herself able to sense the emotions and intentions of people around her. "It is like Jake opened a door in all of us," she told Dr. Carter. "We are all becoming a little bit enhanced." The super soldiers like Alex Porter discovered that their artificial enhancements were becoming unnecessary. Their bodies were developing natural abilities that worked better than any technology. But unlike Jake's transformation, they remained completely human in their thoughts and feelings. "We are evolving," Alex said, "but not into something alien. Into something more human than we were before." News came from Earth that children born after Jake's transformation were showing remarkable abilities from birth. Enhanced intelligence, perfect empathy, and an intuitive understanding of how to cooperate with others while maintaining their own personalities. Humanity was not just surviving the war. It was growing beyond what it had ever been. But the greatest miracle was still to come. In the deepest parts of space, where the darkness that consumes had been slowly eating entire solar systems, something new was happening. The dark force that had driven the hegemony to become conquerors was retreating. Jake's expanded consciousness had reached even that ancient evil, showing it the same lesson he had taught everyone else. The darkness had been consuming other beings because it was lonely and afraid. When Jake offered it connection without absorption, partnership without domination, even that cosmic horror began to change. Solar systems that had been dark for millennia began to shine again as the darkness learned to create instead of destroy. Stars were reborn and planets came back to life. The galaxy itself was healing from wounds that had been festering for millions of years. Dr. Carter stood in her laboratory, looking at data that showed the extent of the transformation. Jake did not just save humanity, she said to herself. He saved everything. In response, she felt a gentle touch in her mind, not invasive or controlling, but warm and familiar. Jake's consciousness, vast as it had become, still remembered every human he had cared about. He could not speak to them directly anymore, but he could let them know that some part of him would always be watching over them. Alex Porter led his squad on a mission to help rebuild a world that had been devastated by the war. But now they worked alongside former hegemony soldiers, sharing techniques and learning from each other. The artificial barriers between species were dissolving, replaced by genuine cooperation and friendship. Years passed. Children who had been born during the war grew up in a galaxy where conflict between species was almost unknown. They learned the history of the dark times, but to them it seemed like ancient mythology. How could intelligent beings ever have thought that domination was better than cooperation? The super soldier programs were gradually phased out, not because they were no longer needed, but because they were no longer necessary. Every human now carried the potential for enhancement within themselves. All they needed was the right circumstances. To awaken abilities that had always been there, Dr. Carter, now an old woman, often sat in her garden on Mars and felt the vast network of consciousness that connected all life in the galaxy. Somewhere in that network she could still sense the presence that had once been Jake Morrison. He had given up his individual existence to become something greater, but in doing so he had ensured that no one else would ever have to make that sacrifice. Humanity had created super soldiers to fight a war. But Jake had become something far more important. He had become the bridge that allowed every species in the galaxy to reach its full potential while remaining true to itself. The stars shone brighter now, filled with worlds where different species worked together in harmony. And somewhere in the space between spaces, in the quantum fields that connected all consciousness, Jake Morrison continued his eternal watch. No longer human, but still guided by the best of human values. Forever ensuring that the galaxy he had saved would continue to grow and evolve toward something even greater. The war was over. The future had begun, and humanity along with all their new friends among the stars faced that future with hope and unlimited potential. The massive hegemony fleet hung in space like a dark cloud that blocked out the stars. Jake stood on the bridge of the human flagship, feeling the fear of 10,000 soldiers through his enhanced connection to their minds. The aliens had brought everything they had for this final battle. Intelligence reports show over 50,000 enemy ships, Commander Walsh said. Our entire fleet has maybe 5,000. The numbers do not look good. Jake could see more than numbers. His perception had grown so much that he could sense individual alien minds across the vast distance of space. What he found there surprised him. The hegemony soldiers were not filled with hatred or bloodlust. They were afraid. They are not attacking us because they want to, Jake said. They are attacking because something is making them. Dr. Carter looked up from her instruments. What do you mean? The hegemony is not just one species. It is hundreds of species all connected together, but the connection is not natural. Something is forcing them to work as one mind. Jake closed his eyes and reached out with his abilities. Past the fear of human soldiers, past the alien fleet, to something vast and cold that lurked at the edge of his perception. When he touched it, images flooded his mind. He saw worlds dying as their stars went dark. He saw species fleeing across the galaxy from something that consumed everything in its path. The hegemony had not chosen to become conquerors. They had been forced to become refugees, absorbing other species not out of evil but out of desperation. There is something worse coming, Jake said. Something that eats entire solar systems. The hegemony has been running from it for thousands of years. That does not change the fact that they are about to destroy us, Alex Porter said. His squad was ready for battle, but Jake could feel their doubt. How could a few thousand human ships fight 50,000 alien ones? Maybe it does change things, Jake said. He walked to the center of the bridge where everyone could see him. What if we are fighting the wrong enemy? The battle began with waves of alien fighters streaming toward the human fleet. But Jake was not watching the ships. He was reaching out with his mind, trying to touch the consciousness that controlled the hegemony forces. When he found it, the contact was like grabbing lightning with bare hands. The alien collective mind was vast and powerful, but also fractured and in pain. Thousands of different species had been forced together into one consciousness, and they were all screaming. Jake felt Alex grab his arm as he staggered under the mental assault. "Jake, what are you doing?" "Trying to talk to them," Jake said through gritted teeth. They need to know that humans might be able to help. But the alien mind rejected his contact violently. Jake felt his own consciousness being pulled apart as the collective tried to absorb him like they had absorbed so many other species. For a moment, he was not Jake Morrison anymore. He was a fragment of thought lost in an ocean of alien minds. Then, something inside him fought back. The Genesis enhancement that had been growing stronger with each battle suddenly blazed like a star. Instead of being absorbed, Jake began to influence the collective consciousness. He showed them images of human creativity and individual choice. He showed them what it meant to work together while staying separate. The alien fleet suddenly stopped attacking. 50,000 ships hung motionless in space as their crews experienced something they had never felt before. Individual thought, personal choice, the possibility of being part of something without losing themselves. "What did you do?" Dr. Carter asked. Jake opened his eyes and everyone on the bridge stepped back. His eyes now glowed with the same light that came from deep space. "I showed them another way, but the process changed me again. I can feel myself becoming something that is not quite human anymore." A communication signal came from the alien flagship. The voice that spoke was layered with hundreds of different alien languages, but somehow everyone understood it. "Human Jake Morrison, you offer us individual choice freedom. But the darkness that consumes approaches. We must be united together one to survive." Jake stepped forward to respond. When he spoke, his voice carried the same layered quality as the alien transmission. "You can be united without being absorbed. Humans have learned to work together while staying individual. We can teach you. Impossible cannot be. Individual thoughts create chaos, discord, weakness. Individual thoughts create strength through diversity," Jake said. "Let me show you." Jake reached out again, but this time he did not try to force his way into the alien collective. Instead, he opened his own mind completely, showing them everything he had learned about human cooperation and individual achievement. The alien consciousness experienced human memories of soldiers choosing to sacrifice themselves for others. Scientists working together to solve impossible problems while maintaining their own unique perspectives. Artists creating beauty by expressing their individual visions. For the first time in thousands of years, the collective mind began to fracture. But instead of chaos, the fracturing created something new. Individual alien voices began to speak with their own thoughts and feelings. "I remember," said one voice. "I remember being myself before the joining." "We were so afraid," said another. "Afraid of the darkness. But maybe there is another way." Jake felt the change spreading through the entire fleet. Aliens who had been part of a hive mind for generations were remembering what it felt like to be individuals. But the process was not easy. Some ships began fighting each other as different species remembered old conflicts. "This is not working," Alex said. "They are tearing themselves apart." Jake knew he had to do something drastic. The Genesis enhancement had been preparing him for this moment, building toward a transformation that would change everything. He could feel the final evolution waiting inside him, ready to complete his change from human to something greater. "I have to become a bridge," Jake said. "Not just between humans and aliens, but between individual thought and collective action." "Jake, no," Dr. Carter said. "We do not know what that will do to you." "I know," Jake said. "It will make me not human." anymore, but it might save everyone who is still human. Jake closed his eyes and let the final transformation begin. His consciousness expanded beyond his body, beyond his ship, beyond anything he had ever imagined possible. He became a living connection between every mind in both fleets, showing them how to work together without losing themselves. The pain was incredible. Jake felt his individual identity dissolving as he became something larger and more complex. But in that dissolution, he also became something that could touch every consciousness in the galaxy and show them a new way to exist. When the transformation was complete, Jake Morrison was gone. In his place was something that was still recognizably human in its core values and desires, but vast enough to encompass entire civilizations. The bridge between what humanity was and what all species could become together. The war was over, but the real work was just beginning. The city of New Boston burned under alien fire as Jake's ship landed in the middle of the war zone. Hegemony forces had surrounded the evacuation centers where human families waited for rescue. The alien soldiers moved like liquid metal, their bodies changing shape to fit through any opening. Alex Porter's squad jumped from the ship with their weapons ready. But something was wrong. Ben Carter stumbled as soon as his feet hit the ground. His enhanced reflexes were failing and his targeting computer showed nothing but error messages. "The jamming field is stronger here," Alex said. His own voice sounded strained as his vocal enhancers began to malfunction. "Our gear is shutting down." Jake felt the alien technology pressing against his mind like cold fingers. But instead of shutting him down, it seemed to make him more aware. He could sense the source of the jamming field, a massive device in the center of the city that pulsed with dark energy. "Stay close to me," Jake told the squad. "I think I can protect you." As they moved through the burning streets, something amazing happened. The super soldiers who stayed near Jake found their abilities returning, not just returning, but getting stronger. Ben Carter's targeting system began showing enemy positions that should have been impossible to detect. Alex Porter's strength increased until he could lift debris that would have crushed a normal person. "How are you doing this?" Alex asked as he threw a piece of broken wall at an alien patrol. "I am not sure," Jake said. But he was beginning to understand. The Genesis process had not just enhanced his body. It had connected him to something fundamental about human consciousness. When other humans were near him, that connection spread to them too. They fought their way through the city, rescuing civilians and destroying alien weapon positions. Every battle taught Jake more about his abilities. He could feel the thoughts and fears of everyone around him. But more than that, he could share his own confidence and skill with them. A group of regular human soldiers had been trapped in a school for 6 hours. When Jake's squad arrived, the soldiers were almost out of ammunition and hope. But as soon as Jake entered the building, everything changed. The trapped soldiers began moving with perfect coordination. Their aim became deadly accurate and their tactics flawless. They fought like they had been training together for years instead of just meeting each other. "Sir," one of the soldiers said to Jake, "we can see them now, the aliens. We can see where they are going to be before they get there." Jake realized he was sharing his enhanced perception with everyone around him. But the effort was draining. Each person he connected to took some of his energy. He could feel himself getting weaker, even as everyone else got stronger. "We need to reach the jamming device," Jake told Alex. "If we can destroy it, all the super soldiers on this world will get their abilities back." The device was protected by hundreds of alien soldiers and massive energy barriers. No normal assault could get through. But Jake had an idea that terrified and excited him at the same time. "I want you to remove your enhancements," he told Alex's squad. "What?" Ben Carter looked shocked. "Without our gear, we are just normal humans." "No," Jake said, "you are humans. And humans can do things that no machine can predict." Alex understood first. "You want us to fight like humans instead of like super soldiers. Use instinct instead of computers. The aliens have learned to counter our technology," Jake said. "But they have never learned to counter human creativity." One by one, the squad members shut down their enhancement systems. The metal parts in their bodies went quiet and the computers in their heads turned off. For the first time in years, they were just people with training and courage. Jake reached out with his abilities and connected to each of them, but this time was different. Instead of sharing his enhanced perception, he shared something deeper. He shared the feeling of being fully human, of having unlimited potential waiting to be unlocked. The final assault on the jamming device was like nothing anyone had ever seen. The squad moved with perfect teamwork but also perfect individuality. Each person fought in their own unique style, making choices that no computer could calculate. The aliens, who had been programmed to counter super soldier tactics, had no defense against pure human unpredictability. Jake felt his connection to the squad getting stronger as the battle continued, but he also felt himself changing. Each time he shared his abilities with someone else, he became a little less like his original self. The human parts of his mind were being replaced by something larger and more complex. When they finally reached the jamming device, Jake placed his hands on its surface and felt the alien technology try to shut down his mind. But instead of resisting, he embraced the attack. He let the alien system connect to him, and then he sent his own consciousness back through the connection. The device exploded in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. Across the planet, super soldier squads suddenly found their abilities returning. But Jake collapsed to the ground, his body shaking from the effort. "Jake," Alex said, kneeling beside him. "Are you okay?" Jake opened his eyes and Alex saw that they had changed again. They were still human eyes, but they held knowledge and awareness that no human should possess. "I am becoming something else," Jake said. "Each time I use these abilities, I change a little more. I can feel myself losing pieces of who I used to be." "Maybe that is the price," Alex said. "Maybe someone has to change so that everyone else can stay human." Jake stood up slowly. In the distance, he could feel the relief and joy of the civilians who were finally safe. He could feel the renewed hope of soldiers across the planet. But he could also feel something else. The hegemony was preparing something bigger. Something that would test every human in the galaxy. This was just the beginning, Jake said. They were testing us, seeing what we could do. The real war is about to start. Alex helped him walk back to their ship. Then we better be ready. Jake looked up at the sky where alien ships were retreating. But his enhanced perception could see further than that. He could see the massive fleet that was gathering in deep space. Ships beyond counting, carrying weapons that could destroy entire worlds. "Ready or not," Jake said, "they are coming." As their ship lifted off from New Boston, Jake felt his connection to humanity growing stronger and more complex. He was becoming something that could protect all humans everywhere. But with each day that passed, he wondered if there would be enough of Jake Morrison left to remember why that protection mattered. Dr. Carter worked late into the night searching through old files that the military had tried to hide. The Genesis project had secrets that went deeper than anyone knew. In a locked folder marked with the highest security level, she found videos of Dr. Nathan Brooks, the man who had created Jake. The first video showed Dr. Brooks talking to a camera in his lab. He looked excited but also worried, like a man who had discovered something wonderful and terrible at the same time. "Day 1 of Genesis trials," Dr. Brooks said. "We have found something remarkable in human DNA, not broken genes that need fixing, but sleeping genes that are waiting to wake up. The other super soldier programs try to add things that humans do not have. But Genesis will unlock things that humans have always had." Dr. Carter fast-forwarded through months of research videos. Dr. Brooks talked about quantum fields and consciousness, networks and things that sounded more like magic than science. But the results were real. Test subjects began showing abilities that should have been impossible. "Day 87, Dr. Brooks said in another video. "Subject Jake Morrison has exceeded all expectations. His enhancement is not just physical or mental. It appears to be fundamental. He is becoming something that bridges the gap between human and something greater." Dr. Carter found Jake in the observation deck, looking out at the red Mars sky. He seemed different since the Europa mission. More focused, but also more distant, like part of him was somewhere else. I found videos of Dr. Brooks, she said. He believed you were not just a super soldier. He thought you were the next step in human development. Jake turned to look at her. His eyes had changed color slightly, becoming deeper and more complex. I remember him now. He said that humans were not finished evolving. He said we had abilities locked inside us that would only come out when we needed them most. The war with the hegemony, Dr. Carter said. He thought that would be the key that unlocked human potential. Maybe he was right. Jake touched the window, and for a moment Dr. Carter thought she saw electricity dancing between his fingers. I can feel things now that I could not feel before. Other humans fighting across the galaxy. The fear and hope of people unthreatened. Worlds, and something else, something bigger. Commander Walsh burst into the room with news that made both of them forget their conversation. We have a problem. 3 super soldier squads have been defeated by new hegemony weapons. The aliens have found a way to turn our enhancements against us. On the main screen, they watched recordings from the failed missions. Human super soldiers suddenly stopped moving in the middle of battle. Their enhanced reflexes became sluggish, and their computer-aided targeting systems failed. The hegemony had learned to hack the technology that made super soldiers special. Every squad but one, Commander Walsh continued. Alex Porter's squad survived because they were fighting alongside Morrison. Whatever he did, it protected them. From the hegemony countermeasures, Jake felt sick. While he was becoming stronger, other soldiers were becoming vulnerable. The very enhancements that were supposed to save humanity were being turned into weaknesses. We need to understand how you did it, Commander Walsh said, and we need to replicate it fast. But when the scientists tried to study Jake's protection effect, they found nothing they could measure or copy. His abilities seemed to work through forces that their instruments could not detect. Worse, when they tried to recreate the Genesis process with other volunteers, the results were horrible. 2 subjects died and 1 went insane, Alex Porter found. Jake in the training room, hitting a practice target over and over. Each punch was perfect, but Jake looked angry and frustrated. You were thinking too much, Alex said, about the soldiers who died trying to become like you. Dr. Brooks was wrong, Jake said. This is not evolution. This is mutation. I'm becoming something that other humans cannot become. Maybe that is the point. Alex sat down on a bench. My squad has been together for 2 years. We trust each other completely. But when we fight with you, we become better than we ever were alone. You do not just fight the enemy. You make everyone around you fight better. Jake stopped hitting the target. How? I do not know. But when you are near us, in battle we can think faster and move smoother. Our computers work better and our reflexes get sharper. It is like you are broadcasting something that makes us more than what we were designed to be. That night, Jake had another dream, but this time he was not alone in it. He could feel Dr. Brooks there with him, even though the man had died months ago in a hegemony attack. You understand now, Dr. Brooks said in the dream. Genesis was never about making you stronger. It was about making you a bridge. A bridge to what? To what humanity can become when it stops limiting itself. The hegemony sees humans as weak because we are divided. Each person fights alone, but you can change that. You can show them what humans are capable of when they work as one mind with many bodies. Jake woke up with new understanding. His abilities were not just for fighting. They were for connecting. Every time he fought alongside other humans, he shared something with them. A piece of the potential that Dr. Brooks had unlocked in him. The next day brought worse news. The hegemony had launched a massive attack on 3 human worlds at once. Every available super soldier squad was being sent to defend them. But the new hegemony weapons would make most of the enhanced troops useless. I want to split up, Jake told Commander Walsh. Send me with different squads to different battles. Maybe I can protect more soldiers that way. Too risky, Commander, Walsh said. We do not know how your abilities work or what happens if you get too far from other enhanced troops. Then we will find out, Jake said. Because if we do not try something different, we are going to lose this war. Alex Porter volunteered to take his squad to the most dangerous battle on a world called New Boston, where 1 million civilians were trapped by hegemony forces. If Jake can really make us better fighters, then we need to be where the fighting is worst. As Jake prepared for the mission, Dr. Carter gave him a small device. This will record everything that happens to you during battle. If something goes wrong, at least we will have data to help the next person. There will not be a next person, Jake said. Dr. Brooks was right about one thing. This is not something that can be mass-produced. This is something that had to happen to one person so that person could help everyone else. Jake looked at his reflection in the ship's window as they flew toward New Boston. He still looked human, but he could feel himself changing more each day. The question was whether he would still be human enough to care about saving humanity when the changes were complete. The ship dropped toward a world where the sky was full of alien ships and the ground was covered with fire. In a few hours, Jake would find out if he was humanity's salvation or just another failed experiment that had gone too far. Jake walked into the training room where 5 super soldiers waited for him. They stood in a perfect line, their bodies bigger and stronger than normal humans. Metal parts showed through their skin where machines had been put inside them. Their eyes glowed with a soft blue light from the computers in their heads. Squad leader Alex Porter stepped forward. He was the biggest of them all, with arms like steel cables and scars from many battles. His voice sounded different too, like it came from a speaker instead of a throat. "So you are the Genesis Project," Alex said. "Command says you are special. We will see about that." Jake could feel the other soldiers watching him. They moved together like parts of one big machine. Their heartbeats matched each other, and they breathed at the same time. It was beautiful but also strange. "I am just here to help fight the war," Jake said. Alex smiled, but it did not reach his eyes. "Everyone here fights the war. The question is whether you can keep up with real super soldiers." The training started with simple tests. Jake had to run on a machine that went faster and faster. The other soldiers ran beside him, their metal legs moving like pistons. Jake kept up easily, but something felt wrong. The machine could not go fast enough. He wanted to run faster than it would. "Let him." "Interesting," Dr. Carter said from the observation room. She was watching numbers on her screen. "His body is not working harder, it is working smarter." Next came strength tests. The super soldiers could lift weights that would crush normal humans. Their metal bones and artificial muscles made them incredibly strong. When Jake's turn came, he lifted the same weights, but it felt like lifting air. The strange thing was that the weights did not seem heavy to him. They seemed like they wanted to be lifted. "How much can you lift?" Alex asked. "I do not know," Jake said. "I have not found my limit yet." Alex's glowing eyes got brighter. He was not used to soldiers who could not be measured and tested like machines. The combat training was different. The super soldiers fought with perfect technique. Every move was calculated by the computers in their heads. They hit exactly where. They aimed and blocked every attack they saw coming. But they fought like they were following a program. Jake fought differently. He moved before attacks came, like he knew what his opponents would do before they did it. When Alex threw a punch, Jake was already moving out of the way. When the other soldiers tried to surround him, Jake was already behind them. "This is impossible," said one of the soldiers. His name was Ben Carter, and he had the fastest reflexes in the squad. "He is moving like he can see the future." "Maybe I can," Jake said. The words surprised him as much as everyone else. Dr. Carter's voice came over the speakers. "Jake, I need you to come to the medical bay. There are some tests I want to run." In the medical bay, Dr. Carter connected sensors to Jake's head and body. The machines made soft beeping sounds as they measured things inside him. "Your brain is working in ways I have never seen," Dr. Carter said. "Normal super soldiers have parts of their brains replaced with computers, but your whole brain seems to have changed. It is like it is connected to something bigger." "What do you mean?" "I mean you are not just thinking with your own mind. You are thinking with something else too. Something we do not understand yet." That night, Jake had dreams that felt more real than being awake. He saw the hegemony ships moving through space like schools of fish. He saw their plans and their fears. They were not just conquerors. They were running from something even worse than themselves. The next day brought news that made everyone on the base worry. A hegemony fleet was heading for Europa, one of Jupiter's moons where humans had built a big mining station. The super soldier squads were being sent to defend it. "This will be your first real mission," Commander Walsh told Jake. "You will go with Alex's squad and we will see what you can really do." The trip to Europa took 2 days in a fast military ship. Jake spent the time trying to understand his new abilities. He could feel the other soldiers on the ship even when he could not see them. He knew when they were worried or excited or scared. It was like being connected to them by invisible wires. Alex found him looking out a window at the stars. "You are not like us," Alex said. "We know what we are. We are weapons made to fight and win, but you are something else." "What am I then?" "I do not know. That is what worries me." When they reached Europa, the hegemony ships were already there. They looked like black spiders with too many legs, crawling across the sky. The human defenders were trying to hold them back, but they were losing. Jake's squad dropped onto the surface of Europa in a small ship. The mining station was under attack and thousands of people needed to be saved. The hegemony soldiers moved fast across the ice, their weapons cutting through human defenses like hot knives through butter. "Standard formation," Alex ordered. "We hit them hard and fast." But Jake was already running toward the enemy. He moved across the ice like he was dancing, dodging energy blasts that should have killed him. When he reached the hegemony soldiers, something amazing happened. He did not just fight them. He seemed to know exactly where they would be and what they would do. Every shot he fired hit its target. Every move he made was perfect. But more than that, the human soldiers around him started fighting better too. They moved with more skill and courage than they had ever shown before. How was he doing that? Ben Carter asked over the radio. Alex watched Jake lead a charge that saved 50 civilians from certain death. "I think he is showing us what humans can really do." The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the hegemony forces were retreating and the mining station was safe. But Jake felt different, stronger, like the fighting had fed something inside him and made it grow. "Good work," Alex said. But his voice sounded uncertain. Jake looked at the stars where the hegemony ships were disappearing. He could still feel them out there, planning and waiting. But now he could feel something else too. Other humans on other worlds fighting the same war, and somehow he was connected to all of them. "This is just the beginning," he said. Jake Morrison opened his eyes to bright white lights and the smell of clean metal. His head felt heavy and his body strange, like he was wearing clothes that did not fit right. The room around him looked like a hospital, but the walls were too thick and the air tasted different. He tried to sit up, but his muscles would not work the way he wanted them to. A woman in a white coat walked into the room. She had brown hair and kind eyes, but her face looked worried. She carried a tablet in her hands and kept looking at numbers on the screen. "You are awake," she said. "I am Dr. Lisa Carter. You have been sleeping for 3 weeks." Jake tried to speak, but his voice came out rough and dry. "Where am I?" "Mars Colony 7. You are safe now, but there are things we need to talk about." Dr. Carter sat down in a chair next to his bed. "What do you remember about Project Genesis?" The name made Jake's head hurt. Pictures flashed in his mind like broken glass. He saw faces of people he knew but could not name. He saw fire and explosions and things that moved too fast to understand. Then he saw a man in a lab coat telling him that everything would change. "Not much," Jake said. "Why do I feel so different?" Dr. Carter looked at her tablet again. "You were part of a special program, not like the other super soldiers we make here. They get machine parts put in their bodies and their genes changed to make them stronger and faster. But you went through something else, something that changed you from the inside." Jake tried to move his hand and watched it respond faster than he expected. When he thought about sitting up, his body moved before he finished the thought. It felt like his mind and body were connected by wires that carried signals at the speed of light. The other super soldiers, Dr. Carter continued, they are very good at what they do. They can lift heavy things, run fast, and fight well. But their changes have limits. Your changes seem to grow stronger each day. A man in a green uniform walked into the room. He was tall with gray hair and carried himself like someone used to giving orders. His name tag said Commander Walsh. Dr. Carter, I need to speak with the subject alone. His name is Jake Morrison, Dr. Carter said. And he just woke up. He needs time to recover. Commander Walsh looked at Jake like he was studying a weapon he did not trust. The war is not waiting for him to feel better. The hegemony forces are. Pushing deeper into our space every day, we need every advantage we can get. Jake had heard about the hegemony before his memory went dark. They were aliens who came from far away and wanted to take over human worlds. They had better ships and weapons than humans did. That was why the military started making super soldiers in the first place. What happened to my unit? Jake asked the dot commander. Walsh's face got harder, all dead. You were the only one who survived the attack on Station Beta 7. The rescue team found you 3 days later, barely alive. The pictures in Jake's head got clearer. He remembered his squad trying to hold the station while civilians got away. He remembered aliens with too many arms and eyes that glowed. He remembered watching his friends die one by one until only he was left. The Genesis program was supposed to make super soldiers too, Dr. Carter said, but it worked differently than we planned. Instead of adding things to your body, it woke up things that were already inside you. Things we did not know humans could do. Jake stood up from the bed. His body moved smooth and easy, like he was floating instead of walking. He could feel the air moving around him and hear sounds from rooms far away. When he looked at Dr. Carter and Commander Walsh, he could tell things about them just by watching how they breathed and where they looked. I can see that you are scared of me, Jake said to Commander Walsh, but you also think I might be useful. Commander. Walsh stepped back. How did you know that? I do not know. I just do. Jake walked to the window and looked out at the red dirt and gray sky of Mars. When do I go back to fighting? Soon, Commander Walsh said. But first we need to test what you can do. We have other super soldiers here. Squad leader Alex Porter runs the best unit on the base. You will train with them, and we will see how you compare. Dr. Carter looked worried. Jake, the other super soldiers might not understand you. They have been changed in ways that make them think and act differently. They work as a team, but they also compete with each other. You are something new, and they might not accept that. Jake turned away from the window. He could feel something growing inside him, like a fire that got stronger instead of burning out. I did not ask to be different. I just want to fight the aliens and protect people. That is what all soldiers say, Commander Walsh said. But you are not like other soldiers anymore. The question is whether that makes you humanity's greatest weapon or its greatest threat. Jake looked at both of them, and for a moment he could see the future spreading out like roads going in different directions. Some roads led to victory and some to disaster. But all of them required him to become something more than human. I guess we will find out, he said.